Alrighty, so originally I was going to do the review of all 11 Saturday night game today before the two matinee game of the Sunday action to finish up match week number 3, but because of the fact that I didn't realize the clock actually moved an hour ahead, I mean I probably should have realized because it's usually the first week in March, I woke up relatively late, and by the time I finished writing the board down, at least for these first 8 games, the first game between Inter Miami versus Charlotte have already started, and I'm basically doing this review in between the two Sunday matinee games. Or I mean, would you call it a matinee game? It's more like the next one is going to be basically Sunday night soccer. So with that being said, that's why I am going to just kind of once again split into two part in terms of review, and I think this is probably what I'm going to do going forward, where I'll do part one in terms of looking at the first 8 games of Saturday night, or maybe even the matinee game if I don't have time to review the matinee match. And then I'll just do part number two, looking at the five, including Sunday matinee game. And this is going to be similar to what I used to do. But with that being said, let us begin with the first match of the busy Saturday night action. And pretty much all 8 of these games are games that are happening around the 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern time window. But we start off with the first one being Atlanta versus the New York Red Bulls, and there's going to be a little concern if you're an Atlanta United fan about how this attack has performed, because while the first game was absolutely amazing, and especially with the incredible debut of Emmanuel Latte-Lav, these last 2 games has not been so. In fact, these last 2 games they have been shut out. And granted, these last 2 games they have faced probably the toughest defensive team in the Eastern Conference and even in the whole league. I mean, facing against a Charlotte defense, which last season was the toughest defense to crack in the Eastern Conference, and then facing against a Red Bull side that have only conceded 1 goal, and that 1 goal came in the first game of the season. It's not going to be easy in terms of cracking the defense. But that being said, when you spend that much money to improve the attack, and we spent almost 30 plus million to invest in your attack, you would expect that your attack should at least score 1 goal against those two top defensive team, and that's not what happened in this game between Atlanta and the Red Bulls. Now, in the first half, the first shot of the game did see Yangar shot that was blocked before Cornell denied Moranchuk from close range. The shot were only one apiece 15 minutes in. In fact, most of the action of this game actually happened in the first half. Latte Laugh puts it wide on the outstretched leg before Cornell would absolutely rob Latte Laugh on a point blank effort. Yeah, Carlos Cornell was definitely on his game in this one. Atlanta was pushing hard for the opening goal. Cornell then denied Latte Laugh from close before Lopchenidze puts it wide from close range. The shots went out balloon to 6-1 as Atlanta was pressing hard to get the opening goal. Edwards then heads it right to Cornell in the 36th minute before Williams would head it wide from close range. And you just kind of had a sense of the Red Bulls were just trying to get to halftime, with this game being at 0-0 because Atlanta was putting so much pressure on that Red Bulls team. Almiron would then hits it right to Cornell in the 45th minute, and despite all the pressure that Atlanta has put, we do head to halftime scoreless between the Red Bulls and Atlanta. And in the second half, it feels like Sandro Schwartz might have made some adjustment because we didn't really see as much chance in the second half for Atlanta United. In fact, the Red Bulls were the one that were getting some good chances. First, Nealis puts it way wide from long range as Atlanta continued to dominate possession. But again, it feels like there was some adjustment that was made by Sandro Schwartz because the Red Bulls were not giving up those dangerous chances to Atlanta compared to what we saw in the first half. Ile would then blast it over from the back post after Atlanta did not clear the ball there, and then Mascara would puts one right to Cornell in the 75th minute. And really, as the time winds down, as much as Atlanta continued to dominate possession and put for the opener, they were not getting the same amount of chances that they got in the first half. They didn't really test Cornell that much, and as a result, the Red Bulls walk away with a 0-0 draw against Atlanta United. As I said, this is the second consecutive game that Atlanta United failed to go get on the score sheet. The shots in this one, 12 shots for the 7 the Red Bulls had, 7 shots on goal for the none that the Red Bulls had. Both teams had 2 shots off target, 2 shots that was blocked for the 4 that the Red Bulls had, and possession-wise, the Red Bulls actually had more of the possession, which is something you usually do not see with this team, but they actually had 60% possession compared to just 40 that Atlanta United has in this game. And like I said, there's got to be a little bit concern if you're a Five Stripes fan. Yes, you do face against two of the toughest defense in the last 2 games, but at the same time, when you spend that much money on your attack and not to score a single goal, Oh boy, that's gonna be something that I think Atlanta fans are gonna be start to be very frustrated, and won't be surprised if this kind of continue. We might even see Ronnie Delia might be questioning in terms of his job as well, because if there's one thing we know about Atlanta United fan base, they are not very patient when it comes to how their head coach performing, and that they can easily turn on this team when Resort are not going the way that they want to be. Well, that being said, moving on in the next one is Cincinnati versus Toronto FC. So it took a while for Cincinnati to finally get the breakthrough, but by the time that they finally got the breakthrough, you knew who was going to win this game. Now, in the first half, Robinson with the first shot off the game, but he hits it wide onto the roof of the net before Kubo would put it wide from long range after just a bad turnover from Toronto up to this point. But there was no doubt that Cincinnati was on the front foot, as you expected when they're playing at home. They were pressing for the opener. They didn't really rest a lot of guys in this one for Pat Nolan's side, which, kind of interesting to see, especially they got a big away game coming up in the CONCACAF Champions Cup down in Mexico. But Dinke would then hit it right to Johnson in the 32nd minute before Johnson would deny Oriano. But it actually fall right to Bear, and Bear was literally there to tap this one in the back post, but he struck the post there. And yeah, that is one that Corey Bear would want to have back. He's been having an issue when it comes to scoring, Corey Bear, and that's kind of an example of it. Just an empty net there on the rebound, hitting the post there. Should have been 1-0 in favor of Cincinnati. Johnson then denied Kubo from close in the 41st minute as Cincinnati was pressing hard to get the opening goal. But we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. By the way, that would be a theme in terms of these games. In fact, this is actually the first time in MLS history, at least for the 7:30 kickoff that is ever since they bunched up a lot of these games between the 7:30 p.m. Eastern all the way up to the mid 9:30 a.m. Eastern time slot, where there was no goal that was scored in the 7:30 p.m. kickoff, at least in the first half. But heading in the second half, Oriano would hit it just wide from close range in the 57th minute before Johnson denied Oriano from close. And really, Sean Johnson, he's kind of is really one of the biggest reason why this is still 0-0, kind of channeling his NYCFC days in here, making some big save, and also some really bad finishing from Cincinnati is the reason why this is still scoreless. Longstaff had a rare chance with TFC, but he puts it wide from long range before Denke would hit it right to Johnson in the 64th minute. But then in the 70th minute, there was finally a chance for Cincinnati to get the breakthrough as a penalty was rewarded to them after VAR deemed that Spicer handballed this one in the box, which allowed Kevin Denke a chance to score from the penalty spot, and he buries it. So yeah, long last, after all the pressure that Cincinnati put, they finally got that deserved to go, and then they looked like they were 2-0 up when Kubo put the ball into the back of the net, but the goal was disallowed for offside. But there was no doubt that the floodgates was open as Cincinnati, they were pressing to try to score another goal, and they do exactly that. As in the 88th minute, this time Kubo would get on the score sheet. He scored from Evander and Buka to make it 2-0 in favor of Cincinnati, and that would be the final score of this game. As the shots in this one, 13 shots with the 6 that Toronto has, 1 shot on goal with the 8 that Cincinnati had, 4 shots off target with the 2 that TFC had, 3 shots as blocked with the none that Cincinnati has, and possession-wise, 56% possession compared to the 44% possession that TFC has in this game. And like I said, it took a while for Cincinnati to get that much deserve goal, but by the time that they do so, you knew who was gonna win this one, and this is kind of course, one of the least surprising resort of this weekend. There have been some early season resort that we've seen that are pretty predictable, and I think this is another example of it. And as I said with Toronto, I hate to say this, but they're basically the Santa Claus of the Eastern Conference this year. They're gonna give team 3 points every single week, and this is another example of that. Now, moving on in terms of the next match is DC versus Sporting KC. So I said in the preview that this is kind of a desperation derby, even though, I mean, I know we're only 3 games in the season. I wouldn't want to mention the word desperation in some of these teams, but there's no doubt that with some of these teams that have got off to a really bad start to the season, as both of these teams kind of has. Well, I mean, in DC case, they haven't lost a single game, but you just kind of had a sense that they're not playing particularly well against an SKC side that, yeah, this has just been a disastrous start to the season. It looks like they're once again heading into something similar to what we saw a couple of years ago, where they could go 10 game without a win, and we might see Peter Vermees maybe be the for his head coach to get relief of his duty. But in the first half, Postgame would deny Pirani from close in the 5th minute. That actually would be the only shot for the first 23 minutes. Again, this is kind of another common theme in terms of some of these early games. Seems like there's always tends to be slow starts. Benteke would then miss wide from close before Herrera puts it over from close range, as DC has definitely took control of this game. They were pressing for the opening goal, but we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. Now heading in the second half, it didn't take long before we finally see the opening goal of this game, and it was kind of a bit of a surprise too, because up to this point, DC were by far the better team. But in the 53rd minute, Eric Tommy would score from Davis and Suleimani to give Sporting KC a 1-0 lead, really kind of against the run of plays there. Benteke looked to try to answer, but he was denied by Postgame on the doorstep of goal. But in the 60th minute, a penalty was given to DC as Suleimani brought down Paglo in the box there, which allowed Benteke to try to score from the penalty spot. Now Benteke did miss his penalty last week against Chicago. This time he would bear it. So yeah, that ties the game up at one apiece, and then he tried to give the lead for DC, but he puts it wide off of a deflection. No doubt momentum was with DC. They were pressing hard to now trying to get the lead for good. But the post would deny Suleimani from long range in the 66th minute, and that was key because literally 2 minutes later on the other end, Jose Kojima would score his first career MLS goal from Paglo to make it 2-1 in favor of DC United. So Kojima, of course, scoring a couple of goals that is not in MLS play back to the St. Louis day, but he finally gets his first one, not only for DC, but also in MLS play as well. We then go for a long period of time where not much really happened, and that kind of favored DC. They were looking to just cruise their way to an easy win, and knowing that this is a Sporting KC side that has not a lot of confidence, I mean, this is not a big surprise that they didn't really show too much pushback late in the game. Though Tommy did puts it high from long range in the 84th minute, and yeah, in the end, DC they get their first win of the season, a 2-1 win against Sporting KC, and the shots in this one, 12 shots for the 7 that Sporting KC had, 1 shots on goal for the 4 that DC had, 4 shots off target for the 3 that DC had, 3 shots on block for the 5 that DC had, and possession-wise, 52% possession compared to 48% possession that DC has in this game. And like I said, for Peter Remise, this might be the closest we might see of him potentially get relief of his duty. Pretty much the entire fan base want him gone right now. Though I say that he might be the first head coach to get let go. Caleb Porter basically saying hold my beer, because moving on into the next match between New England versus the Philadelphia Union. And again, I understand that New England is kind of like an expansion team heading into this season with the amount of changes that they had, but that kind of also doesn't explain the fact that if they're gonna act like an expansion team, then how in the world is San Diego FC being very successful and them just uh, looking very looking like the same team as last season, a team that just simply cannot score a goal to save their life, and also on the defensive front, also very sloppy uh, at the back as well. Now in the first half, 5 minutes in, Campana with the game's first shot, but he missed wide there, and then he had to come off with an injury. Yeah, again, it feels like if you're New England and if you're a Revs fan, you have seen this story before, and it feels like, oh my God, here we go again with key players losing to injury. We've seen this story before in the last 2 seasons, and now Campana basically is the latest victim of that. I mean, there has to be a curse right now going on with this Revs team where all their key players just simply cannot stay healthy, no matter what they're trying to do. And here, Campana had to be subbed off due to an injury. Urruti basically replace him. The first shot for the Union did see Ivicic denying Uru from close before Heel would miss wide on the curler in the 18th minute, and then he puts it over from long range just a couple of minutes later before Sullivan would hits one right to Ivicic off of the deflection. Both teams was getting a good opportunity, but the question is who can get that opening goal? Well, Gastak tried to do so, but he skies it from 7 yards out. Yeah, usually don't see Daniel Gastak miss those kind of opportunity. Lukic would then puts it wide from close before Sullivan would puts it right to Ivicic in the 36th minute. The Union was no doubt on the front foot, and they were pressing hard now to try to get the opening goal, and you kind of had a sense that it was coming with the way how red hot they're coming in to this game against the Revs. Those Cibalio would puts it wide from close in the 40th minute for New England, and we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams because that's how the 7:30 game went in terms of the first half, where no goal is being scored. In the second half, Wagner almost had a little shot cross goal there, and it almost went in when he crossed this one in, but struck the post. Westfield would then puts it wide from long range. The Union continued to pound on the door for the opening goal and kind of picked up where they left off in the first half, pressing for the opener. And then it looked like Baribo scored his sixth goal of the season, but the flag did not agree with him there. Blake would then deny Uruti from long range in the 64th minute. The Revs, I feel like they kind of survived the original Union impress. I mean, the Union was really putting a lot of pressure early on, but as the half goes along, it feels like New England started to get themselves into this game and we're looking for the opener, but that was not meant to be because in the 76th minute, this time Baribo were not denied of his sixth goal of the season as he scored here from Wagner and Westfield to make it 1-0 in favor of the Union. That also ties the record for the most goal scored in the first free game. I mean, I know Ty Baribo had an incredible second half of last season, but not many people thought that it would be able to carry to extent to this. I mean, he is just a man possessed right now. He is a guy that is just as good as what Carranza was to this Philly team. And yeah, just like that, the Union were up 1-0 up to this point. Lukic tried to look to make it another, but he was denied by Ivicic. And then Ivicic somehow cleared Sabalio own goal away. I mean, the way that one bounced off of Sabalio and going toward his own net, that looked like it was an own goal. That looked like it was game over for New England, but Ivicic somehow save that. I gotta feel bad for Ayaz Ivicic. I mean, he's trying his best to keep this New England team in the game as much. And I would say if it wasn't for Ivicic, this game probably would have been over a long time ago. But it was pretty much over in the 7 minute of stoppage time as Jovan Lukic would score his first career MLS goal from Vasilev and Bedoya to make it 2-0 in favor of the Union. So Vasilev, of course, making it his debut with the Union, getting on the assist chart as well. And as I mentioned, for Lukic, it's his first career MLS goal, and it was an absolute banger. A goal of the week contention as well to make it 2-0 in favor of the Union. And that would be the final score of this game. As the shots in this one, 19 shots compared to just 9 that New England has. 1 shots on goal compared to 8 that the Union has. 4 shots off target compared to 5 that New England has. 3 shots on block compared to 5 that the Union has. And possession-wise, 52% possession compared to the 48% possession the Union has in this game. As the Union continue their strong start to the season. I mean, this was probably the one that out of those first two games they would expect to easily win, and that's exactly what they did. But for New England, the misery continue, and as I said, if you want to put odds on, it's going to be interesting to see who exactly is going to be the first head coach to let go. Is it going to be Peter Vermees or is it going to be Caleb Porter? My odds is probably going to be on Caleb Porter because I think for Sporting KC, as much as the front office is completely fed up with Vermees, the front office for Sporting KC has given Vermees so much leeway that I know maybe this could be finally the season we might see Vermees finally get the axe, and we might see the longest tenure head coach finally comes to an end. But I do think with the pressure that Caleb Porter built himself last year, and it was almost a miracle the fact that he survived the job last season. You got to say if things does not turn around for this team, and if they can continue the way that they are heading into this season, similar to last season in the beginning of the year where they just simply can't score and also can't defend, yeah, he's going to be ousted relatively quick of his job as the head coach of the New England Revolution. With that being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the last 4 games to finish off this review, at least part number 1, looking at the Saturday night game in match week number 3. So moving on into the next game is NYCFC versus Orlando City. So NYCFC, of course, in their home opener in the friendly confines at Yankee Stadium, and this may be the last time we might see this happen. Which good riddance, because honestly, everybody, including NYCFC fans, are basically saying that they're tired of seeing their team play at Yankee Stadium as their home. But in what could be the final season home opener at Yankee Stadium, they get the 2-1 win against Orlando City. Now, early on, Hack would have a header that goes wide off the deflection before Parkwood heads it right to Galese, as no doubt NYCFC was on the front foot. They were looking for the opening goal. Moriel would put it wide from long range, as that was Orlando's first shot, before Pasalic would put it wide from close. Moriel then puts it wide from long range, as all of a sudden the momentum was with Orlando. This was one of those games where it feels like the momentum meter was swinging left and right throughout this game. Both of these teams had their moments in terms of the momentum throughout this game. But in the 22nd minute, Fernandez would puts it wide into the side netting, and and it actually they kind of fooled half of the stadium because they thought that that one went in, and that was the first goal that was scored for NYCFC at home this year. Martinez would then hit it right to Galese in the 24th minute. Momentum just like that, swing right back to the home side. They were pressing for the opening goal, though Atuesta did puts it high from long range, and we do head to halftime. Unsurprisingly, scoreless between both of these teams because all these 7:30 kickoff. I mean, you get the point. That is. But in the 50th minute, Galese would deny Martinez, but it was recycle, and Julian Fernandez had a second crack of it, but he goes wide. That also came off a bad turnover from Orlando City. Yeah, they got away with that one because that should have been 1-0 in favor of the host. Moriel then hits it right to Freeze in the 58th minute, but then in the 59th minute, we finally see the opening goal of this game as Alonso Martinez scored here to make it 1-0 in favor of NYCFC. Morales actually struck the post there, but Martinez was in the right place, right time to clean up that mess, and just like that, NYCFC have a 1-0 lead. Fernandez looks to try to make it 2-0, but he hits it right to Galese. But then in the 69th minute, Orlando does tie the game up. It's Luis Moriel. He scored from passage to tie the game up at one apiece. It did not stay tied for long though, because just 2 minutes later, Hannes Wolf would score from Fernandez to make it 2-1 in favor of NYCFC. Yeah, that is one that Galese would not want to look back. And this is the thing I've said about Pedro Galese. It feels like his time with Orlando City is probably going to be done relatively soon. I mean, it feels like not only Father Time is catching up to him relatively fast, but man, his quality has just declined as the year goes along. And in this game, it's another game where he allowed goals that he clearly should not be allowed with the caliber that he has. Just again in this play, gave up a juicy rebound and was rightfully punished because of that. Wolf looked for another, but he was denied by Galese, who again gave up a big rebound, and in fact, not only gave up that big rebound, but it was actually goal bound as he was trying to make the save there, but somehow was clear off the line. Galese was definitely rattled up to this point. NYCFC was looking to try to take advantage of it. Atuesta then puts one right to Freeze, and it was actually spilled by Freeze, but was able to gather. In the 86th minute, O2 unfortunately gets a second yellow card in that, so that makes things a little bit interesting late in the game. Arujo then missed wide on the header. NYCFC was looking to hold on as Orlando was pressing late for the equalizer, but in the end, NYCFC does hold on for the 2-1 win. The shots in this one, 14 shots with the 13 that NYCFC had, 8 shots on goal for the 3 that Orlando City has, 5 shots off target compared to the 2 that NYCFC had, 1 shot on block for the 5 that Orlando City has, and possession-wise, 58% possession compared to the 42% possession that Orlando City has. So great home opening win for NYCFC. Like I said, this could be the final season home opener at Yankee Stadium for them, and for Orlando City, the slow start continue. I mean, you can't play Toronto FC every single week and expect to get 3 points, and they're basically finding out that way in this game. So moving on, in the next one, we got Austin versus the Colorado Rapids, and this is actually the first game where Austin finally have their big DP signing Uzuni into this game. And overall, I don't think it was a bad game for Austin and even for Uzuni as well. He actually hit the post twice in this game, and Austin had some unlucky break that goes their way, but unfortunately, in the end, they just couldn't quite find that clinical finish that they had, and Colorado kind of played a perfect road game and a game that usually when you're the road team, you're not going to have a lot of possession and a lot of chances, but they took care of their chances and they sneak out a 1-0 win. Now early on, Bassett would put it wide in the 8th minute, but then 10 minutes later they would score first, and it would also be the only goal of this game as Navarro would score from Mahajevic and Larias to make it 1-0 in favor of the Rapids, and that also was only the game's second shot in this one. So yeah, it was a bit of a slow start for Austin in this one, and they were punished because of it. So Uzuni did have the first shot for Austin, and he looked to answer, but the post was denied hand, and it hits right back to Stefan. Vasquez then puts it high from close in the 37th minute. Vasquez, of course, still looking for his first goal. He's getting closer, I think, to finally getting his first goal for Austin. But the same goes for Uzuni as well, as once again he struck the post from close in the 43rd minute. Yeah, safe to say that the post was not Los Verdes' friend and Uzuni friend on his debut as well. He could have easily had a go and a dream debut in this one, but it wasn't meant to be. Bukhari then puts it wide from long range as Austin for pressing hard to try to get the equalizer late in the first half. But we do head to halftime with the Rapids leading 1-0. In the second half, Navarro would miss wide after just a bad turnover from Austin before Rosenberry would have a one-hopper right to Stuvert. So again, a good start for Colorado coming out of the break. Austin kind of didn't start on time again. But then they look like they got a penalty in the 53rd minute. Looked like there was a foul that was committed in the box. I forgot exactly who was who, but it didn't really matter because VAR deemed that Uzuni was in an offside position prior to that foul being happened. So yeah, unfortunate for Austin not to get penalty in that situation. Vasquez would then hits it right to Stefan in the 61st minute as Austin was pressing to get the equalizer. Wolf would then puts it high from close, and then Stefan would deny, or actually no, not Stefan. I'm sorry, Stuvert would deny Bassett on the back heel. Obviously, his own goalkeeper doesn't deny his own player as well. O'Brien would hits it right to Stuvert in the 74 minute, or I'm sorry, hits it right to Stefan. I mixed up both of these names when I was writing the board here. And again, this is what happened when you decide to write the board relatively quick. Sabevic then missed wide from close in the 77th minute as Colorado definitely they were holding on to this 1-0. You can kind of had a sense that they were trying to stay compact and get a massive 3 points while Los Verdes was continuing to press for the equalizer. Vasquez then puts it wide in the near post in the 90th minute, and then in the first minute of stoppage time, once again, Austin thought that they got a penalty, but they go to VAR again to see whether or not Frederick actually got the ball first before taking out Rubio. He did, and it was the right call. He clearly got the ball first before making the challenge as well, and as a result, no penalty was given to Austin. And in the end, the Rapids they hold on to win 1-0 in this game against Austin. The shots in this game heavily in favor of Austin. 21 shots with the 6 that the Rapids had, but the problem was they wouldn't put in enough on Fring. Only 4 shots on goal for the 3 that the Rapids had. 8 shots off target for the 7 that Austin had. 6 shots that was blocked with the none that the Rapids had. And possession-wise, 59% possession compared to the 41% possession that Colorado has in this game. So, yeah, for Austin, they did everything right in this one, but just unable to put the ball into the back net. But there's no doubt that the chemistry is going to be there, and some of these new impact players that they got in the offseason, I think eventually they're going to get things going. Like I said, Brendan Vasquez is getting close. If he can just score that one goal, I think he's gonna blossom, and the same goes for Uzuni as well. A very promising debut, and if it wasn't for the post getting away, he probably would have had a goal on his debut in this one. But that being said, moving on into the next game, is Chicago and Dallas. So Dallas looked like they were on their way of a 1-0 win, and then they kind of hit the self-destruction button in the last 10 minutes of this game. Gutierrez would then first miss wide from close in the second minute before Farrington hits it right to Brady. Kuipers then had a shot that was blocked away as the flag went up. There was definitely chances for both teams early in this one, and Dallas, well, they got the goal in the 13th minute as Pedro Musa would put the ball into the back of net. But they did go to VAR to see whether or not if he was in an offside position, and he was. So yeah, the goal was this. Now, as a result, we then go for a period where really not much happened, and there was a lot of offside call. A lot of time we saw the flag came up. Seems like both of these teams was trying to play, at least the attacker play between the last defender, and didn't quite work out. But we do head to halftime with the game scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, Julio was in on goal there, but he was absolutely robbed by Brady on a 1v1. Yeah, Brady had a really good game in this one, and another case of why he could be a future number one for the men's national team in this game. Paz would then deny Bamba as he was in on goal. So Paz was on the other end was definitely not shy away in terms of making big save as well. But just like the first half, both of these teams was getting some good chances, but who can get the crucial opening goal? Well, the answer is Dallas, because in the 56th minute, Logan Farrington would open the score line from Julio to make it 1-0 in favor of Dallas. And then Julio himself trying to get on the score sheet and get another for Dallas, but he was denied by Brady in the 68th minute. Orgel then missed wide from long range in the 79th minute, but then in the 81st minute, Andrew Guzman would score from Kuipers and Orgel to tie the game up at a 1 apiece, and this is when the meltdown began for FC Dallas, because just 3 minutes later, Chicago would turn the game on its head as Russo would score his first career MLS goal on his debut and completely turn the game game around for Chicago to make it 2-1. And then they got a penalty in the first minute of stoppage time as Ibiaga brought down Kuipers in the box. So Kuipers, of course, won the penalty. He took the penalty himself. You know he's not going to miss from the spot here, and he doesn't. So that made it 3-1 in this one. Just an absolute meltdown that Dallas had in the last 10 minutes up to this point. But they did get a penalty themselves in the third minute stoppage time because this game started to become very MLS after dark kind of way, as VR deemed that Barlow handballed that one in the box. But in the fifth minute of stoppage time, just as Musa had a chance to maybe give a slight hope for Dallas late in this game instead of a grandstand finish, Chris Brady says no. He denied him from the start there with a kick stave. And again, this game is another example of a game that Chris Brady is really making his case that he could be a future U.S. men's national team goalkeeper. He could maybe even challenge for Matt Turner spot if he continued to do so well, and maybe even get a move to Europe relatively soon. But in the end, Chicago, they win 3-1 in this one. It's the first win for Greg Berhalter and this new era that the Fire has had. And the shots in this one, 13 shots for the 11 that Dallas had, 6 shots on goal for the 7 that Chicago has, 2 shots off target compared to 1 that Dallas had. Both teams had 4 shots that was blocked, and possession-wise, 46% possession compared to 54% possession that Chicago has in this game. And while Greg Berhalter get his first win in charge of his new team, fortunately for Peter Quill, this is the first loss for his respective team. And deep defensively, there's got to be a concern if you're Dallas, because this is 2 games in a row that they conceded 3 goals. And I know I've said before that Peter Quill team, with how exciting that they play at time, this is going to happen. Well, at the same time, yes, it is going to happen, but they simply need some defensive reinforcement. It was a problem last season as well, and it's going to be a problem unless if they don't address that maybe in the remaining part of this primary transfer window or even heading into the summer transfer window. But with that being said, moving on into the last game on this board is Nashville versus the Portland Timbers. So this was a game where, for a while it feels like Nashville was not going to score a goal. Like it felt like they were simply cursed for a while, but they finally got that goal going, and in the end it was kind of at time a one-sided affair between both of these teams. Now early on there was a penalty that was given to Nashville as McGraw brought down Mukhtar from the spot there. So here comes Mukhtar, a chance to bury it. Now, no, usually he does put the ball into the back of the net, but Pantema says no. He denied him from the spot there as he pushed this one onto the post. But he actually got his own rebound, Mukhtar, as that one bounced off the post. But he was denied by Pantemis again in the 5th minute of this game. Yeah, that just kind of sums up Hani Mukhtar luck in his last 2 seasons with Nashville. Like, if this was Hani Mukhtar in his MVP season, that one would be buried from the spot 10 out of time. And even on the rebound, he probably would have buried that as well, but he just simply have no luck lately for this Nashville team. Lovitz then hits it right to Pat Temis in the 7th minute, and early on it was all Nashville early in this one. They were pressing to get the opening goal. Nahar would then hits one right to Pantemis in the 13th minute, but then in the 16th minute, another penalty was given to Nashville as Quizem would be brought down by Ortiz there. So here comes Nashville, another chance to score from the spot. This time they decide to change it up and put Sam Surridge being the designated penalty kick taker, but to no avail because Pantemis once again denied Nashville from the spot. This time he denied Surridge from the spot, and this penalty was actually even worse taken compared to Mukhtar. I mean, Surridge kind of hit this one right to Pantemis. Something tells me, yeah, he's probably not going to be the penalty kick taker for this Nashville team if he makes that kind of penalty attempt, but you just kind of had a sense that Nashville just simply can't buy a goal. Even from the spot, twice they had a chance to get the opening goal. They just cannot score. DaCosta would put it over from long range in the 19th minute, as that was the Timbers' first shot. Mule would then put it wide from long range, and then Nahar would miss wide from long range in the 29th minute. Ayala would then put it over from long range in the 40th minute before DaCosta puts it over on the free kick, as the Timbers was starting to get some sustained pressure up to this point, and this is where if you're Nashville, all these missed chances that you had in the first half, is that going to come back to haunt them? Well, the answer is no, because in the 3rd minute of stoppage time, they do finally break through, and it's Andy Naha scoring his first goal for Nashville from Tagstaff and Yaspek to make it 1-0 in favor of the host, though that is one that, yeah, for Pantemis, of all the heroics he has done in terms of saving penalty from the spot, that is one that he would want to have back because, from a near post like that, especially with no deflection, when you're a goalkeeper, especially a starting goalkeeper caliber in MLS, you have to save that one from the near post, and he didn't. That gives give Nashville a 1-0 lead and a much deserved 1-0 lead heading into halftime. In the second half, Mukhtar would put it wide from long range before Mule would hit it right to Pantemis, and after finally kind of breaking that drought of scoring their first goal of the season, they were pressing to try to get more. And the post would then deny Quasem from close in the 65th minute before Zimmerman would hit it wide on the free header. But then the 68th minute, after all the pressure that Nashville put, they would find the second goal as Ahmad Quism would score his first career MLS goal from Lovitz to make it 2-0 in favor of Nashville. Mule was looking for a third here, but it was denied by Pentemes. It was all Nashville up to this point. I mean, it was kind of man against boys up to this point. The Timbers were clearly not up for it in this one. Though Perez would cross it wide from long range in the 80th minute before Anthony would hit it right to Willis, and he does the same thing just 4 minutes later. And in the end, Nashville, while they were kind of at time being wasteful in front of goal, they were very fortunate the fact that again, Phil Neville Timber side was clearly not interested in terms of showing up in this game because in the end it was a very convincing 2-0 win that Nashville has, their first win of the season that is, and the stats kind of tells the story. 20 free shots compared to 9 that the Timbers had, 4 shots on goal compared to 11 that Nashville has in this game, 5 shots off target compared to 3 that the Timbers had, 2 shots that was blocked compared to 6 that Nashville has. Possession-wise, 56% possession compared to the 44% possession the Timbers has in this game, and while obviously the finishing has to be better if you're BJ Callahan and this team, you're just happy the fact that you get all 3 points because so many times we've seen in this league where teams put a godly number on the stat chart but just can't finish and they either lose out on all three points or even drop points as a result. Nashville fortunate that was not the case. They get the 3 points in this one, and for the Portland Timbers, yeah, I'm pretty sure they want to forget about this game and also the game earlier this season because yeah, it has not been a great start for this Portland Timbers side, and you can guess what's been the big issue of why they're getting off to a bad start. And if your answer is defense, well, you can get a one way shout to potentially asking Phil Neville to be removed from this job as he's another head coach that I think could be on the hot seat relatively soon with how poor the Timbers have looked in the beginning of this season. But there you have it. That is pretty much it for the review of the first 8 games. Like I said, I had to do this relatively quick, especially with the last game going to be coming up relatively soon. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys hit a like, smash the subscribe button. When the Galaxy versus St. Louis game conclude, I will finish up the review of looking at the last 5 games, the late West Coast game that is for Saturday night, and then of course the 2 Sunday game to conclude match week number 3. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.